A quiet evening. In a small apartment, a beautiful single mother was busy in the kitchen, a pot of chicken soup bubbling on the stove, a simple yet warm dinner for her young child. The smell of fried onions and fragrant chicken filled the home. The sound of her little one chattering in the living room painting a picture of peaceful family life. But right at what seemed like the most ordinary moment, the phone on the table suddenly rang. After listening to the mysterious call, the mother's expression immediately changed. She hurriedly grabbed her house keys, still wearing her pajamas, and rushed outside. And from the moment that door closed behind her, she never returned. What exactly happened that night? Join Crime Documentary Files as we explore today's case. In 2021, at the very moment when the COVID-19 pandemic was spreading and raging fiercely everywhere, the lives of most people were forced to undergo significant changes in their lifestyle and daily habits. One of the most obvious changes was that people had to transition from the traditional work model to working from home. At the same time, instead of gatherings, meeting friends, and dining at restaurants like before, people now had to cook and enjoy meals right in their own homes. Not only that, face-to-face meetings were gradually completely replaced by online meetings via computer screens and smartphones. In addition, posting content and images on social media platforms, along with watching and creating content on TikTok, gradually became an indispensable part of daily routines. There was a type of lip-sync video format on TikTok that was becoming extremely popular and loved by many people. People could use modern video editing software to replace their face, especially the mouth and lips, with an interesting dialogue. The woman appearing in the video we're talking about was named Jang Ju. If no one revealed her real age, you probably wouldn't be able to guess exactly how old she was, because her youthful appearance completely didn't reflect the reality that she was already the mother of an 8-year-old son. At 34, after going through a divorce with her ex-husband, Zhang Ju decided to take her young son with her to start a new life in Melbourne, Australia. Because the child was still very young and needed thorough care, Jang Ju couldn't pursue a full-time job with fixed hours and strict requirements. Instead, she chose the daegu business, a profession with quite flexible and free working hours, allowing her to arrange and balance her responsibilities as a mother with making a living. The daegu business usually starts with small connections around you, from friends and close relatives, then gradually expands when satisfied old customers introduce new customers, thereby forming a customer network through word of mouth and mutual referrals. Because of this, Jang Ju gradually became acquainted with many people from different walks of life in the community, and naturally, among those people, some gradually became good friends. However, due to being heavily affected by the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, whether it was shopping at malls and supermarkets or transporting goods by sea, everything was significantly impacted and restricted. In addition, many schools were also forced to switch to online learning via computer at home. Because of these changes, Zhang Ju had much more time to stay home with her son, enjoying precious moments together. Looking at her personal social media page, it was mainly simple moments from everyday life. On the evening of February 1st, 2021, Jang Ju shared on social media the chicken soup she had spent 5 hours cooking specifically for her beloved son, along with a hearty dinner prepared meticulously for each dish. And during this time, Jang Ju also specially recorded a short video showing her son eating happily and appearing extremely satisfied with the delicious meal his mother had prepared. After that, she posted this meaningful video on WeChat to share this simple happiness. However, her young son had absolutely no idea that this warm and happy dinner would become the last meal he would have with his mother. Around 6 p.m. that evening, Jang Ju suddenly received a phone call. After ending the call and hanging up, she didn't explain or tell her son where she was going or what she would do, but just hurriedly said a few brief words to him, then quickly grabbed her keys and rushed out of the house. Because she left in such a hurry, when she stepped outside, Jang Ju was still wearing her pink pajamas and wearing house slippers. From the moment she stepped out of that door, Jang Ju seemed to have vanished into thin air, disappearing mysteriously without leaving any trace. The next day, on February 2nd, Jang Ju's close friends, after being unable to contact her and feeling anxious, officially reported Jang Ju's disappearance to the local police. Immediately after receiving this missing person report, police forces didn't hesitate, but quickly deployed a large-scale search campaign with full mobilization of resources and personnel. Detective Andrew Stamper was appointed as the central commander, coordinating and directing 3 different search teams to conduct searches using a carpet-like sweep method, covering all 3 large areas near Jang Ju's residence. It can be said that the search was carried out in the spirit of climbing mountains when encountering mountains, and not hesitating to wade through water when encountering streams. It should be noted that the area that needed to be surveyed was not a small range, but a vast and complex geographical area. Moreover, at that time it was hot summer with high temperatures, making the search work even more difficult and exhausting. From these relentless efforts, it's clear that police forces were truly dedicated and devoted all their efforts, hoping to quickly find and bring this Chinese mother back to her family and the young child waiting. In addition, police forces also proactively sent and distributed missing person notices to all surrounding areas, calling for support and information from the community. In the official notice, they confirmed and described in detail Zhang Ju's identifying characteristics: about 5 feet 5 inches tall, weighing about 115 pounds, with brown eyes and black hair. At the time of her disappearance, she was wearing pink pajamas, not wearing glasses, and had no tattoos on her body. Jang Ju was last seen at her home in the Epping area of Melbourne. At the same time, local media and press also quickly reported news of this mysterious disappearance, attracting widespread public attention. As mentioned earlier, during her years in the Daegu business, Jang Ju had built an extensive network and became acquainted with many people. While on one side, police forces were working day and night tirelessly searching, on the other side, the local Chinese community, along with Jang Ju's close Chinese friends, also spontaneously organized and launched a parallel search campaign through WeChat and various other social media channels. News of this disappearance spread rapidly, creating a strong wave of information causing considerable impact, attracting special attention from the local Chinese community. Everyone, whether acquainted or never having met Jang Ju, enthusiastically participated in helping by forwarding information and sharing posts. In the widely shared information, those who knew the situation also revealed that Jang Ju's English name was Kelly. A notable detail was that when she left home that evening, she didn't drive her own car outside, but only took her mobile phone and keys. Her young son, after his mother went missing, was picked up by his father to be cared for. As for Jang Ju's elderly parents, who were living in China, when they received news of their daughter's mysterious disappearance in Australia, they were extremely worried. Where did Jang Ju ultimately go? Is she still safe now? Based on the fact that Jang Ju was still posting normally on social media platforms right before her disappearance, sharing happy moments with her son, Detective Andrew Stamper, who was in charge of investigating the case, analyzed and believed that it was absolutely impossible that Jang Ju voluntarily left home, abandoning her life and young child. And based on important details such as Jang Ju not driving her own car when going out, only wearing pink pajamas, wearing house slippers, and leaving hurriedly after a phone call, the detective concluded that it was very likely that Jang Ju went out to meet someone she knew. Moreover, the possibility that Jang Ju got into that person's car and was then taken somewhere by them couldn't be ruled out. So the question is, what was the purpose of this person, or these people, taking Jang Ju away? Was it kidnapping for ransom? However, for a single woman who only did Daegu business with modest income to make a living and raise her young child, without large assets or a wealthy family, this kidnapping for ransom motive was clearly not feasible. Because of this, based on careful analysis and reasoning, Detective Stamper decided to focus the main investigation direction on the hypothesis of a crime committed by an acquaintance. So ultimately, who was the person most likely behind this strange disappearance? Immediately after Jang Ju disappeared, police got to work investigating, starting with those closest to her. In most mysterious disappearance cases or family murder cases, the first suspect almost always falls into 2 categories: husband or boyfriend. This is the group of people with the closest relationship, prone to conflicts, jealousy, or emotional issues, and therefore, the likelihood of being involved in the case is always considered first. After reviewing Jang Ju's social relationships, they quickly identified the priority interrogation target as her boyfriend and summoned him to the police station for questioning. Jang Ju's boyfriend was named Jun Seong Tan, 36 years old, a Malaysian with a slightly overweight build. In his daily life in Australia, he didn't have any stable or long-term job, but mainly did flexible work related to interior decoration and renovation for families, such as installing kitchen cabinets, built-in cabinets for customers, or laying wooden floors and similar manual work to make a living. When police summoned and asked him to come to the station, Tan appeared quite cooperative. In the interrogation session at the police station, Tan told investigators that on the day Jang Ju went missing, February 1st, 2021, he was actually staying with Jang Ju and her young son in that very house in Epping. This means that at the time Jang Ju was cooking, and when she posted photos and videos capturing warm family moments on social media that evening, Tan was also present there. Moreover, according to Tan's statement, he also said that when Jang Ju was preparing to leave the house around 6 p.m. after receiving that mysterious phone call, she said she was going out for a bit but didn't say why, didn't say who she was meeting or where she was going. At this point, Detective Stamper, along with other police officers in charge of the case, began to feel somewhat suspicious about Tan's testimony and attitude. However, at that time, police didn't have any concrete evidence in hand. Second, although what he presented and testified had some somewhat unusual points, when analyzed carefully, no major contradictions, serious loopholes, or clear errors could be found in his statement. Because of these limitations, police could only reluctantly release him first, but continued to monitor and surveil his movements. Next, to expand the scope of investigation and collect more useful information, police forces interviewed each household among the neighbors living around Jang Ju's house. They wanted to find out if anyone among these neighbors had heard any unusual movements or suspicious sounds before and after the time of the disappearance. At the same time, police also asked if anyone had seen any suspicious characters appearing around the area. Truthfully speaking, the results from this community inquiry and investigation work brought quite a large amount of information, providing police with many new clues to continue clarifying this mysterious case. Neighbor A provided important information, saying that a few hours after Jang Ju left home and went missing that evening, from inside her house suddenly came an extremely unusual and suspicious loud noise. This sound was so loud that it woke and startled even the neighbors around who were sleeping soundly. Another neighbor said that around 4 to 5 a.m. that night, that is, a few hours after Jang Ju went missing, he woke up and heard outside the house, perhaps in the front yard area, or the street near Jang Ju's house, a group of men talking to each other. According to his estimate, there were about 2 to 3 men, and they stood talking continuously for about 15 minutes, quite a long time at midnight like that, which was very unusual and suspicious. As for neighbor C, they said Jang Ju's boyfriend, Tan, had proactively visited and knocked on doors of a few neighboring households near that area, asking them if they had security cameras or any surveillance systems installed around their homes. What's special is that at the time Tan came asking about security cameras, everyone in the area hadn't been notified about Jang Ju's disappearance. Because of this, when this neighbor was curious and asked back, asking Tan why he needed to see footage from security cameras, what the specific reason was, this man refused to explain clearly, didn't provide any reasonable explanation, but just avoided and left. This was also confirmed by another neighbor named D. According to this person's account, when Tan proactively came to neighbor D's family home to request security camera footage if available, at that time D's parents were at home and talked with Tan. However, because their family basically didn't have any security cameras or security systems installed around the house, when informed like that, Tan said nothing more but quickly left based on all these signs, clues, and suspicious behaviors collected from different sources. Whether it was Tan's own testimony about being at home with Jang Ju and her son that day, or his subsequent actions when he proactively went from house to house asking neighbors for security camera footage even before the disappearance was widely announced, all of this made investigating police forces increasingly suspicious and doubtful about Tan. And what made police investigators feel extremely excited and enthusiastic, like finding an important breakthrough in the case, was when they examined, reviewed, and analyzed images from security cameras installed around the area, police forces succeeded in identifying and tracking the suspect's vehicle. It was a 2008 black Mazda sedan with registration number WKE850. Through analyzing data from multiple different camera sources, police confirmed that this vehicle had appeared and operated near the crime scene, near Jang Ju's house, for a long and suspicious period of time, specifically from 4 p.m. on February 1st to 8 a.m. on February 2nd, lasting all night. With this important clue, police immediately called on the public and community to provide more information related to this vehicle. And after conducting searches and checking vehicle registration records in the database, results showed that the legal registered owner of this vehicle was exactly Jun Seong Tan, Jang Ju's boyfriend. So, what more was there to say? With such clear evidence, police forces immediately summoned and invited Tan to quickly come to the police station a second time for interrogation. However, this search brought a very worrying discovery. People suddenly realized that Tan, who just a few days ago could still be contacted, was still in Melbourne and could be found, had now disappeared without a trace. No more words needed to be said. Anyone could see that at this point, this man not only had an extremely high level of suspicion in Zhang Ju's disappearance case, but was also clearly showing the movements of a criminal preparing to flee from the control of the law. This was exactly the rhythm, the sign of preparing to run away and escape from police pursuit. Sure enough, when conducting searches and checking travel information and flight bookings, police discovered that Tan had appeared at the airport in the process of preparing to board a plane to leave Melbourne. In the urgent situation and risk of letting the suspect escape, police forces acted as fast as lightning, urgently moving to Melbourne Airport. On the morning of February 10, 2021, just over a week after Zhang Ju went missing, police successfully arrested Tan right at the airport at the exact moment he was preparing to board the plane. Preventing his escape plot immediately, police officially charged him with the serious accusation of being suspected of murdering Zhang Ju. So after arresting Tan, could police quickly trace Zhang Ju's whereabouts? According to accounts from acquaintances, the relationship between Tan and Zhang Ju had been rocky from the start. Although they had only known each other for over a month, the two continuously had conflicts. Zhang Ju had even expressed wanting to end the relationship multiple times because she felt Tan wasn't the right person. To put it briefly, although their relationship was short, it was tangled, full of conflict and deadlock. Yet, no matter how complicated the relationship, they had once been lovers. So how could Tan ultimately be suspected of ruthlessly attacking the very person he once claimed to love? Why could someone who once said they loved become so cruel to the person they once cared for? On this point, Tan showed a stubborn and obstinate attitude, also resolutely refusing to speak, completely not admitting any accusations that police forces presented against him. It must be admitted that at this time, Tan indeed had certain reasons to feel confident and arrogant like that. Why say so? Because up to that point, police forces still couldn't be certain whether Zhang Ju was alive or dead. A person going missing doesn't mean that person is dead. You can't automatically conclude like that. And even in the worst case that the person is already dead, at least police must find the body, without evidence of murder. How could he be convicted? Because of this, at the end of February 2021, dozens of police officers were once again mobilized to deploy a campaign even broader and more comprehensive than before. This search not only included previously searched areas, but also expanded to the western Heidelberg area, sprawling wheat fields, and the dense wild forests in the Ivanhoe area. Truth be told, February in Melbourne was summer, the weather extremely hot and harsh, with scorching temperatures. Surely when police officers were striving their utmost in search work under that blazing sun-like heat, if Tan continued to resolutely refuse to open his mouth and confess, refuse to reveal any information, then was there really no more breakthrough point in this case? Time just passed day by day in a long and desperate manner. Zhang Ju's elderly parents flew to Australia in extreme pain and worry. They had to complete a full 2 weeks of quarantine according to strict regulations due to the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, and immediately after completing that mandatory quarantine period, the two elderly people immediately began participating in the search for their daughter. However, despite days of relentless searching, Zhang Ju's whereabouts remained completely unknown. Police forces never thought this search would drag on for dozens of consecutive days like this and still have no results. What was even more disappointing and disheartening was that not only was Jang Ju not found, but the search also didn't bring any useful information or valuable clues that could help clarify this case. As long as one single day passed without finding Jang Ju, the decisive evidence, the key evidence to officially prosecute Tan for murder, was still unavailable. Without a body, without forensic evidence, how could murder be proven? So it was very likely that Jang Ju's disappearance case would become a deadlocked case similar to Zhang Yingying's case, a case I shared with you before, a case where the victim's body was never found even though the suspect was arrested. This situation not only risked the local police force losing credibility and reputation seriously for failing to solve the case successfully, but the strong calls and pressure from the local Chinese community living there demanding police quickly solve the case. Fortunately, after going through 4 months since the case occurred, finally the police side also had new progress in the investigation. In an official press conference, investigators revealed that after having to review, analyze, and meticulously screen a total of 3,500 hours of video from various security cameras, along with having to translate a large amount of Chinese text messages between Zhang Ju and many different people, then combining, cross-checking, and comprehensively analyzing all collected clues, they would begin conducting a comprehensive search at the Vullert landfill, a large waste processing area located in that region. Although police forces didn't announce specifically and in detail where they collected this important clue from, where they got the information to focus searching at the landfill, here, we as case followers can also easily deduce the logic behind this decision. Previously, the reason police searches didn't bring expected results was because investigators initially started from the assumption that the suspect would definitely use a car to transport the victim's body away from the crime scene, then take it to dump somewhere far away. Because of this thinking, they focused on searching widely in areas like wild forests, rivers, streams, lakes, and other remote locations. But when combined with another important clue, that was the fact that suspect Tan immediately after the case occurred hurriedly went everywhere in the area, knocking on each neighbor's door one by one to ask if they had security cameras installed. Then police forces realized a completely different possibility. Very likely he knew clearly, was afraid that if he transported the body outside the area, drove away from the house, it would definitely be recorded by neighbors surrounding security cameras. Because of this concern and awareness of this risk, from there, he very likely disposed of the body right on site, right in the area near the house. Because police forces officially announced and widely publicized that they would conduct a large-scale search at the Vullert landfill, whether Zhang Ju could be found became the focal point that all people, especially the local Chinese community, were extremely concerned about and closely following. Because of this great attention, for many consecutive days, helicopters from various different media flew circling above the landfill, filming and monitoring the search work progress. Detective Andrew Stamper, who headed the investigation, shared with the media that the past few months for all police forces participating in this case were truly extremely difficult months, full of challenges and pressure both physically and mentally. However, despite facing countless difficulties and disappointments, their investigators always persisted without giving up and devoted themselves as on the first day starting the case. Regarding why they decided to conduct the search at the landfill, the detective explained that, unless there were sufficient reasons, solid basis, and clues, police forces would never require personnel to do such extremely difficult work. The most important thing they were aiming for was the hope that this search could help them find any clues, any traces about Zhang Ju's disappearance, to be able to bring some comfort to her family. Finally, after so much relentless effort, the police force's persistence paid off. On June 18, 2021, after going through 4 consecutive days of relentless searching in harsh conditions, police forces finally found human tissue, human remains lying deep in that huge garbage pile. It took a few more days. When samples were sent for careful analysis and testing, police forces, through accurate DNA test results, officially confirmed that the remains found in the landfill were exactly Jang Ju's, the woman who had been missing for over 4 months. On July 15, 2021, right at the time when Melbourne and all of Australia were in a period of complex COVID-19 developments with strict lockdown measures. Suspect Tan had a Mandarin Chinese interpreter accompany him for support, appearing in the virtual trial session of the Melbourne Magistrates Court instead of an in-person trial as usual. Throughout the trial proceedings, besides confirming and nodding to indicate he could hear and understand the judge's words through translation, Tan didn't give any other answers. He still maintained a stubbornly silent attitude as before. Because at that time, police forces and the justice system were still waiting for official results from the comprehensive forensic analysis process, this case was postponed, unable to proceed with an official trial immediately. The judge decided to temporarily postpone the trial until there was complete forensic evidence. On December 1st, 2021, after many months of waiting and preparing documents, Tan officially appeared in court at the Melbourne Magistrates Court. According to the detailed case summary officially announced and disclosed by the court to the public, police forces presented that Tan and Jang Ju initially met each other through online social media platforms, and then the two began dating, having a romantic relationship for only about a month before Jang Ju was murdered. In the process of deeper investigation into the relationship between the two, police discovered Zhang Ju had confided and frankly told a close friend of hers that she truly didn't love Tan, but she was very attracted to money, his financial capability. According to police investigation conclusions, Tan murdered Jang Ju in a heated argument and conflict that occurred between the two right at her home on the evening of February 1st, 2021. Police forces firmly believe and concluded that the motive driving Tan to commit this brutal murder was because he felt angry, jealous, and betrayed when he discovered that Jang Ju was having an ambiguous, unclear romantic relationship with another man outside. Around 5:30 p.m. on February 1st, 2021, Jang Ju received a call from Tan, wanting to meet and talk. Jang Ju didn't think much, because their relationship had just begun. She believed they could calmly talk, so she agreed to let Tan come to her home. After Tan arrived at Jang Ju's house, an argument broke out, leading to a physical altercation. In anger, Tan pulled out a sharp knife and stabbed Jang Ju 6 times in the chest and arm. With one stab hitting her heart, Jang Ju quickly collapsed and died from excessive blood loss. Meanwhile, Jang Ju's 8-year-old son was watching TV in another room. After committing the crime, Tan called his roommate Mr. Chen, asking him to come help dispose of the body. Tan said that during the argument with Jang Ju, he lost control and stabbed her to death, and was worried the body would decompose in the hot weather. He needed someone to help dispose of the body. However, when Mr. Chen arrived at Jang Ju's house, he pretended to agree to help him find a trash bin, but immediately fled the house for fear Tan would also kill him to cover his tracks. Very likely, this was the part that neighbors testified about earlier. They heard several men talking to each other for about 15 minutes in the early morning hours. Without anyone's help, Tan dismembered Jang Ju's body into 8 pieces, wrapped them in bed sheets, and put them in the laundry hamper in Jang Ju's house. After cleaning up, he lied to Jang Ju's 8-year-old son that his mother had left home. He disposed of Jang Ju's body into a large wheeled trash bin, and according to the normal waste collection process in the area, when the Public Sanitation Service's garbage truck came to collect household waste in that area, it inadvertently took this trash portion and transported everything to the Woolert landfill. Investigators further revealed that in the days after his girlfriend went missing, Tan avoided police. Especially on February 6th, he used search tools on his phone to look up how many years in prison murder carries in Australia, as well as learn about waste processing procedures and how Australia handles rotting garbage. That day, the judge intended to hold a 5-day preliminary hearing in March 2022. At that time, all evidence of his murder would be examined. But Tan waived his right to participate in the preliminary hearing, instead filing an application to the court requesting his case be quickly transferred to the Supreme Court. At the Supreme Court, he would face direct trial. On May 31st, 2023, the Supreme Court jury found Tan guilty of murder. Jun Seong Tan wore a suit and tie when appearing in court, but his face remained expressionless when hearing the jury's verdict. Because Australia doesn't have the death penalty, the maximum sentence in Victoria is 25 years in prison. On July 31, 2023, the Victoria Supreme Court sentenced Tan to 28 years in prison, adding 3 years, and ruled that he must serve 23 years before being eligible for parole. Jun Seong Tan is currently imprisoned and may be deported to Malaysia after serving his sentence. And that's today's case. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next videos.